before talking about the trends, I want to give you one key message. And that's, don't forget about the fundamentals of a human approach. Often it's not about trends. It's about, how do we treat people? Do we treat people with respect? And we know what people expect. It's not so difficult. People want respect. They want a nice, challenging job. They want a boss that recognizes them. They want to work in a pleasant team, and they want to be heard. So those basic things, let's not forget them. And we can buy the most fantastic apps and implement the most fantastic technology, but also let's not forget the human fundamentals. So that's key message, and I called it number 0. So classic trends. Because I'm a trend watcher, I've been in the trend watching business for almost 10 years. And the reality is, many of the trends we are seeing are not changing so rapidly. Many of the trends have been around for years and years and years. And then the question is, why are we so slow? We in the HR community, why are we so slow in adapting to these trends? So today I took 5 classic trends, and then I will talk a little bit about some of the trends we forecast for 2023. Always on my list, always on my list is personalization. Personalization. Are you willing and able to take the individual needs, wishes, preferences, capabilities of people into account? Personalization. Long trend. We can learn a lot from the marketing consumer domain here, but it's super, super difficult. It seems super, super difficult for people in HR. And there's constantly a pushback to standardization and one size fits all, and everybody has to do this. We in the COVID-19 crisis in the past years, we've seen a lot of that. Not personalization, but standardization. At the beginning of COVID, it was, okay, everybody who can work from home needs to work from home. Now we're not out of COVID, but at you could say in a new phase of COVID. Now I see many companies saying the new rule is 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. That's not personalization. If you apply personalization, you look at the work people are doing. Some work suits very well doing it alone at home. Other work, creative work, innovative work, needs constant. You need to be in constant touch and need to be stimulated by other people. So it's the work that varies. It's the home situation. Some people have a big house and they can work excellent from home, but some people have small rooms. They cannot work from home. It's the personality. And there are people who are very extrovert, who have an extrovert personality. Well, it's very difficult for those people to work from home. And so you have more elements to take into account. So personalization, you first look at those elements and then you craft workplace solutions around that. The area of recruitment is also a good area for an example. I still see many organizations, although it's starting to change, they take the job as the starting point. They make a job description. We all know those job descriptions. They make a job description with 10 things on the list. Then they go out in the market and say, we are looking for people who fit in this description. And then they say, we cannot find the people. There's a war for talent. Well, maybe if you personalize more, you take another approach. You look at the people. You look at the available people. You look at the wishes, needs of people in critical areas, in critical skill areas. And then you look how you can craft roles that really where those people fit in. So the movement away from jobs to roles and looking more at the skills that are required in those roles is a very important trend, and it's fueled by personalization. There are many, many more examples in personalizations. I've written about it, I've talked about it. But if only you get away here and think about, okay, how can we personalize? Are we really taking the individual wishes, needs, preferences of people into account? So, classical trend number one, personalization. Number two, well, that's a super, super old trend, and that's about speed. Things go faster, 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 faster. And that's maybe a trend that is already thousands and thousands years old. Eh? Everything goes faster. But if you look at the HR practices, many of those practices are still far too slow. Why are we so slow? A couple of examples here. Again, recruitment. There are organizations where it still takes weeks, if not months, to find new people and put new people in their position. It's, as I described, it's making a job description, posting the job description, inviting applicants, doing a selection. Well, that takes too long. Why does it take so long? I've looked at research where they measure how long it takes for people to fill in the online application form that varies between 1 minute, best in class 1 minute, to 20 minutes. There are companies where it still takes 20 minutes for applicants to fill in the online form. Well, then you have lost many of the applicants. It's far too slow. Then, simple thing, making an appointment. Hey, Tom, we want to speak to who is applicant Carla. Can you arrange meetings with A, B, C, D? Well, yeah, okay. And A is not available, B is not available. Well, sometimes that scheduling takes too long. And there are other ways to do it. Clever companies, for example, they say Friday is interview day, and they make sure that there are always people available on Friday for interviews. So when you meet applicants, well, the longest they have to wait is 4 working days. The worst situation, if you meet them Friday, end of the day, then they can only come next Friday. But most other applicants, it's a matter of days. So speed, super important. And you can look at all the HR practice areas. Also, feedback. Well, I don't have to talk about that, but many feedback processes are far too slow. Performance management. I still see organizations where they have a performance management cycle that takes a year. So there the year is, you could say, the time block. Well, it's not a matter of years. Shorten that down. Best in class companies have shortened that down. They do goal setting in periods of maybe a month, maybe a quarter, but not a year. Your performance management cycle should be a lot faster. Your feedback should be more or less instantly. Pay cycles, especially also in these difficult times, maybe annual pay reviews are not adequate anymore. Maybe you should look at speeding up your pay review cycles. So, lots to say about speed. I can go on in every area, also learning and development. In learning and development, a long term trend is how can we get to learning in the flow of work? And learning in the flow of work has to do with speed. Are you there with clever learning solutions at the moment that people need it? Not too early. Talking about speed, you can also be too quick. You learn people things they cannot use, but also not too late. Learning people, well, they can't use it anymore. Be in time, learning in the flow of work. So every aspect of HR, you can look at the speed aspect, and well, probably you can find a lot of areas for improvement. So personalization, speed. Number three, number three is, I put here, technology. Of course, technology is fueling a lot of the possibilities. Also with the first two trends. Technology can help a lot with personalization. Technology can help a lot to speed things up. With technology, and that's why I put there automation and augmentation, we have seen a lot of automation. Automation is more people do a certain job and then we look whether a machine, a computer can do that faster, quicker. Um, but that's, you could say, not clever enough. Augmentation is how can we use technology to improve the way human beings are working, especially also in the HR domain. Well, the human capabilities are rather limited, and we are all prone, enormously prone to all kinds of biases. We know that also in the selection process, all kinds of biases in promotion processes, in judging people. So how can we overcome is maybe difficult, but how can we learn to live with our biases and work against our biases by cleverly using technology? So augmentation today, that's the game. Automation, yes, of course, you need it for your HR core systems and applicant tracking systems, etc., etc. But augmentation is how can we make the combination technology, human beings together a lot better? Well, I encourage you to study, look at technology. There's a lot going on. Uh, uh, a vital question is also for your people in the organization, what's in it for them? Eh, Many technology projects are very much organizational focused. We as an organization want this and this and this. But then the people in the organization might ask, what is in it for me? Does it really help me? Does it help me today? But also, maybe, does it help me in the future? When I go to another organization, can I then take the technology or the data that is all gathered about me in all those clever systems? Can I take it to my next employer? Often that's not possible. Number four, maybe you could say not such a long term trend, but we have been talking about it for the last years. That's about purpose. Not only the purpose of organization, but also the purpose of people. What's my purpose in life? More and more people who work are asking, am I really able with my employer to make a difference in the world? It's not only about working for the money, but it's also about working to have an impact in the world. That's more and more important. And for many organizations, that is still rather difficult. Um, Sometimes you can get a little bit tired of the purpose discussions because purposes have to be real and not artificial. And we see a lot of, you could say, advertising agencies making purposes for organizations, but they are not really intrinsic and lived in the organization. It's interesting that if you look at the purpose trend, you also see kind of counter trends. I mentioned here the anti-work movement, and the anti-work movement is people saying we make work too important in life. Why is work so important? There's a lot of other things. So let's push work away. Maybe let's not work if you can afford it, or let's make work less important. So the anti-work movement, very interested to follow. And related to that is also QQ. QQ is quite quitting. And that's people are saying, well, I want to make work less important. And well, yeah, I don't like the work so much. I don't like the company I work for fantastically, but I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit, but I quietly quit. So I come in exactly at the time that I'm needed. I only work the hours that are assigned to me. I only do the things that are in my job description. If people ask me to do something extra, well, maybe I don't have the time. So quiet quitting, I don't know whether it's happening everywhere, but you better watch out because then people get detached, and well, it's kind of doesn't help with the purpose. Maybe it helps with their individual purpose, but it doesn't help necessarily with the purpose of the organizations. The last classical trend I want to tackle today is experience, the employee experience. Also, that's a longer term trend. More and more consumers, employees, they are expecting a real experience. A real, and not an artificial experience, but a real experience. It's not only about gamification, it's not only about fun, it's not only about the Friday afternoon drinks. It's really the questions: how can we make work fun? How can we make work a real experience and a positive experience? Of course, it's a lot easier to give negative experiences. For many organizations, this is not so easy. It has to do also, and I go back to with personalization. The expectations of people are different. Not everybody expects the same experience. So you have to look at different groups, at different people, and see how can we create, design an experience that fits with different people in the organization. And uh, I see also there often a very much organizational top-down approach and not a really people-centered approach in the experience. So 5 classic trends, and what you can do is easily make a matrix with the 5 trends from personalization to experience. Then on the top row, you put your HR practice areas and then say, hey, what can we do? Hey, recruitment, can we use technology? Can we use personalization? Maybe we can. How is our recruitment experience for candidates, etc.? So you fill the matrix, and then you have many areas for improvement. Every year, end of November, so that's coming next week, we at the HR Trend Institute publish our forecast for the trends for the next year, and often they are, you could say, expressions of long-term trends. And although it's going to be published next week, I want to give you a kind of sneak preview of those trends. And you can read about them more next week. We will publish an article. We will publish a separate video. And the theme, and I think it fits nicely with the conference. Our theme for next year is breaking boundaries. Well, you could also say be bold, but breaking boundaries, and it's breaking different type of boundaries. It's organizational boundaries, but maybe also personal boundaries. It's boundaries between different disciplines, so working multidisciplinary, but also boundaries between, you could say, the different groups that are responsible for an organization. So don't lock yourself up. Don't lock yourself in your organization, but break the boundaries. Reach out to your communities, reach out to society. So there are many boundaries to break. The theme for 2023. And I very quickly go through those trend areas, and I'm sure you probably want to know more. Number one, there are 9. So I have 9 minutes for 9, 1 minute per trend. One is what we see a lot, and probably also in your country, people support in response to the crisis. People response and respond. How can we support people in the current crisis situation? There's an economic crisis. There's increasing energy prices. There's a war going on, and people have the expectation that their organizations will support them and help them. And we see that starting. We see financial support, so giving people extra money so that they can cope in a situation. We see, for example, organizations that reduce the pay cycle, so pay more often, especially in times of inflation. That helps. That give people material support in terms of food, for example. So we see it happening. You also have to look at it because the people expect their organizations to help them. Number 2 on my list for next year, our list for next year, the return of the unions and workers' councils. That has gone down over the years, but the last years, we have seen an increase. We have seen an increase in union action and union support in traditional unionized industries, for example, railways, transportation, those type of industries. But interesting enough, also in new companies, in technology companies, companies like Amazon, companies like Google, they're also employees are organizing themselves, not only discussing working conditions, but also, for example, the ethical aspect of those companies. Hey, company, we want you, also connected to the purpose trend I mentioned earlier, we want you to behave in an ethical way. Why are you doing this? And so, interesting movement, return of the unions. I wonder whether you are seeing that as well. Number three, knowledge workers are not the center of the universe. And sometimes, also in these type of conferences, uh, it seems like everybody is a knowledge worker, and we are not. eh? Most people, to be honest, work in industries, work in sectors where they are not knowledge workers. We talk about manufacturing, we talk about retail, we talk about agriculture, we talk about hospitality, we talk about medical work. So there are many people in industry sectors where, for example, working from home is not an option. That's something, yeah, fancy for the knowledge workers, but many people, most people are not knowledge workers. So also we in HR should shift and make sure we give enough attention to the non-knowledge workers. So knowledge workers are not the center of the universe. There are many more people. Number four, we called the productivity puzzle. And unfortunately, we don't have the solution to the puzzle, but I encourage you to look at the productivity puzzle. We have seen investments in technology. We have seen investment in the employee experience. We have seen investment in learning and development, etc., etc. We have seen new organizational designs, but productivity is stalling. It's not growing very fast anymore. Why is that? How we should expect productivity to boost. So we are doing something wrong. And if productivity is plateauing, we get into issues. We get into issues. Then you get the issues, and we cannot find the people, etc. So look into the productivity puzzle. Very interesting to study. I hope you are still there. I cannot see you. Well, but I get the sign from the organization if you are all asleep, I hope. Number 5 on my list, virtual reality, VR, makes the metaverse workplace reality. We talk about the metaverse, and it can be what is the metaverse, and it can be complicated and what's going on. But let's consider virtual reality, which is an integral part of the metaverse, and that's a good stepping stone also in HR into the metaverse. And we see that happening more and more. VR in pre-selection, VR in training and development, VR as an important tool in meetings, etc. So study that and see how you can use VR as your, you could say, stepping stone into the metaverse. Number 6, TIB. Watch out for the TIB, Talent Intelligence Bureau. The Talent Intelligence Bureau. More and more, you see organizations installing a kind of talent intelligence bureau. Talent intelligence bureau that's looking where are the skills, where are the people, what do the people want, so that if you ask the talent intelligence bureau, hey, we want to staff a project with these type of skills, the talent intelligence bureau knows where to find them. Very interesting. Of course, this has a lot to do with analytics. I go to number 7. Agile HR roles are crucial, and agile HR roles are becoming more and more important. I assume most of you work in agile ways, and it gives a lot of opportunities. We see more and more new agile HR roles emerging, lots of opportunities there. I encourage you to read the book of my colleague Natal Denk on agile HR. It's an excellent introduction into agile HR. And number 8, it's time to tackle the M taboos. And the M's are menstruation and menopause. And in many organizations, that is still a taboo. Let's not talk about menstruation. Let's not talk about the menopause. But it's becoming more and more important. The proportion of women over 50 in the workforce is growing. Many women have problems either with menstruation or menopause, and they have difficulty to discuss that at work. And they find work not to be understanding enough. Not to be understanding enough. And we see that starting. So also for you, time to tackle the empty booth. The last one, and then I finish right on time, is net zero is priority number 1. There's a lot of figures there, 901, but the message is net zero is priority number 1. And also for HR, that's important. What can we do to help to work in a more sustainable way? What can we help? How can we help in our organizations to reduce CO2 emissions? So also for HR, it's important, and it's more than saying, okay, we are using less paper, those superficial things, but there's a lot more you can do. So tackle that. Net zero, high priority. So some classic trends, some new trends. I hope a lot of food for thought and ammunition, inspiration for you to do things. And if you want more, go to the hrtrendinstitute.com, link to me on LinkedIn, go to my YouTube channel. After this, there will be a panel discussion with excellent members in the panel, and we will discuss more about 2023 HR trends. So I encourage you to come to the panel, and during the panel there will also be ample time for questions, and hopefully we will be able to answer them. I thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you soon in 3 minutes or so in the panel discussion. Bye bye.
Tom, fantastic. Thank you so much. Listen, we've actually got quite a few questions that have come through already. Let me just pose a few of them to you right now. So how do you align people to work for impact instead of just for money, especially if you're a startup and pretty broke at the beginning? What would you say?
Well, I think it's about aligning the purpose of people with the purpose of the organization. So that's, especially when you are a smaller organization, that's very important. Don't just hire people for the skills, but also hire people for the cultural and purpose fit. Do you want to change the world with us? And I think that's an important element to make sure that you are ready to really make a big impact.
Another question as well. Do you see companies building their private virtual worlds, aka metaverses, or do you think we'll be joining some of the existing metaverses, i.e. decentralized?
Yeah, I think it will be a hybrid way. So there will be new metaverse. In the end, it's like the real world. You have different communities and they're all connected. So I think technology-wise, people will often use. They will not develop their own technologies, but they will be able to create their communities, their areas in the metaverse. Very interesting developments, but we see more and more, not only in the metaverse but also in the real world. It's a discussion about in which ecosystem are we operating. It's not only about us, but it's about us in our networks, in our ecosystems, working together in our communities, working with suppliers, working with. So that's very interesting, and also with enormous implications for HR, because HR, is not only there for the people on the payroll in their organization.
Also, another question coming through as well. How do you personalize if you have 300 people in a company? I assume you personalize certain things. Which ones? That's the question coming through. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the good news is the bigger your company is, the easier it is to personalize. Because then you can gather the data of the people and you have more opportunities to really personalize. So size doesn't matter. Yes. Secondly, try to find out what is important for people. What are their wishes, needs? Because often you will find that in some areas there's a lot of commonality. And many people want the same thing. So it's not 300 people all wanting all kind of different things. So that I would do. And then I would focus, if I had the choice, on my most critical areas. So if you cannot find people with certain skills, then it makes sense to really find out what are the wishes, needs of those people, because then you can attract them to your organization by fulfilling their needs and wishes, and maybe forget some other people. So prioritization is also important and helps.
There's another question here, a little bit more of a challenging one, in fact. So here we go. If knowledge workers are not the center of the universe, who is? When they leave, you need to replace them and train replacements. Why, if they're not central? Love to hear.
Yeah, and you could say that the obvious answer is it's more. There are many people who are the center of the universe. So let's not say the knowledge workers are the center of the universe. I would say, generally speaking, the people at the front are more at the universe, at the center of the universe. The frontline workers, the people in the hospitals helping people, the soldiers who are fighting the war at the front. So I would, if I would have a choice, I would choose the frontline workers. But of course, in the end, it's about all. But we tend in HR, and also because we are knowledge workers ourselves, we tend to view the world as if we, as knowledge workers, are the center of the universe, and we are not. And we forget many people. If I look, and don't get me started, but if you look at the way we treat people in warehouses, if we treat people who deliver our packages, how we treat people who handle our luggage at airports, well, we don't want that. And we should give that a lot more attention. And of course, the knowledge workers, well, often they can take care of themselves quite well as well.
Tom, this is where we're going to wrap up now. And then one of the last things that we've seen in the chat, Tom, this was great. I believe it was great. People that are watching, they think it's great as well. So listen, thank you so much. It's been lovely. It really has been lovely for you to share a little bit this inspiration this morning coming through from your attic. Don't we love your attic? We certainly do. Listen, Tom, we're going to leave it there. We're going to be back with you very shortly because
I'm going to the panel now.
Very shortly indeed. But for now, thank you so much.